This is episode 9 of The Winner's Circle, a drag racing podcast. I'm your host, Leroy Lease. Our goal is to help you win more rounds at the track by sharing tips and tricks. This is episode 9, brought to you by DragTracker.com, an online logbook serving the racing community through tools and technology. For this episode, we're going to have another interview. I'm so blessed to be able to get to interview some really cool people in the motorsports marketing, motorsports arena. So this time it's motorsports marketing. It's about sponsors. So I asked Chris RHOAD the question, what are a handful of things that somebody who's in bracket drag racing, grassroots type level racing would need to know to land a good sponsor or a big sponsor? And he had some great tips. So, some of them just mean polishing up your professionalism. If you're watching me on YouTube, I got on a jacket. Maybe I'm trying to get a sponsor, right? Why not? So, clean it up. It doesn't take a whole lot of evaluation or you can do it fairly easily. It's worth the money invested because it'll pay back in the level of quality that your customer, which is the people who sponsor you, how much they can invest in you and your racing operation. So anyway, it's just very exciting. And also I'd like to mention that if you are enjoying our podcast, please rate us on iTunes. Give us a 5-star rating. That'd be good. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think we could do or what we're doing well and what you'd like to see more of, maybe what we could do better. You can send those kind of comments to me in an email, podcast@dragtracker.com. And but before we dig in, I just want to encourage you to check us out at dragtracker.com. On the right side of the website is a voicemail link. If you click that link, you can leave me a voicemail and share stories or questions for a future topic on the show. Also, you can leave a comment about this episode at dragtracker.com/podcast and click on episode 9. You'll find links and other notes from the show there. And also, we put out a YouTube version of every single episode. And so if you want to check that out and leave us a comment there, I'm responding to those comments as well. Also, if you check us out at youtube.com/dragtracker, I've also started putting up weekly vlog videos, so video blog type stuff. Just extra stuff about drag racing that I don't seem to be able to fit into the podcast, but I just kind of want to reach out and have a reminder. If you don't get to go racing every week, some of these things might be entertaining, might be something that you can take away and improve on your own racing operation and really take it to a next level. Yeah, so anyway, without any further ado, here is my interview with Chris RHOAD from Studio RHOAD, the marketing agency out of Knoxville, Tennessee. Hey, thanks again for checking into the DragTracker.com podcast. I'm very excited about our next guest today, or our first guest in a couple episodes. I wanted to talk to everybody about drag racing and marketing. Drag racing, we see sponsor names all over the place. We see them on the side of cars. They highlight and sponsor events, but so what's behind all this? Well, let's talk to somebody who's in the mix, somebody that can tell us, maybe give us some insight on what it means for motorsports marketing, maybe add some insight into why we're seeing all these advertisements, who's really benefiting here and who's serving who, because sometimes it feels like they're the only ones being served, but it's the drag racers who get the opportunity because they have those marketing dollars behind them. So anyway, we'll dig in on all that. We'll talk about Chris's agency and find out a little bit more about maybe the inner workings there and some recent awards that we're all very excited that they've been able to bring home. So without further ado, please welcome Chris RHOAD.
All right, thank you, Leroy. Glad to be on.
Hey, man, thanks a lot. Appreciate your time. So Chris, tell us why you're into racing. You're into racing, right?
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah, definitely. I guess in a nutshell, I've been racing since I was 15. Started off drag racing like many of you guys, and then it progressed to other disciplines, autocross, drag racing, of course, some road course stuff, and then the majority of my Pro-Am career, if you want to call it that, was with drifting. So.
Okay, yeah. Are there, we're in East Tennessee. Are there a lot of opportunities for drifting? Just curious.
As of the last 12 months, yes. Prior to that 12 months, not at all.
Is that right?
It was very sparse. I had the privilege to work with some organizations over the years, hosting drift events all across the country, and got out of it a few years ago. And some other organizations have popped up, and they're starting to get their feet underneath them. And matter of fact, there is a drift event local here in Knoxville on May 17th at a local baseball stadium, just in the parking lot. So,
right.
So some of the amateurs can come out and get some seat time. So.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like it's got to be something interesting to watch. I mean, I've drifted when I was on ice, a couple months ago. It just seems really like it would be entertaining.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. From the outside and the inside. It's a blast.
Wow. Great. Okay. So, but your focus these days is on motorsports marketing. Tell me about how you made the transition from the driver's seat maybe to outside the car.
But they kind of go hand in hand. Like many of your listeners, they have this passion for racing, but it all comes down to the Achilles heel, which is the money, the budget.
Right.
What can you allocate to the racing program? So they just go hand in hand. So I started looking into that, and my trade, I went to school for graphic design, and I minored in advertising at the Art Institute of Atlanta, and it spawned from graphic design. Everybody who has Photoshop was a graphic designer.
Right.
Anybody who's got a DSLR camera is a photographer.
Sure.
So I saw where everything was going. I saw that graphic design as a whole was becoming a commodity. It was becoming a race to the bottom. And that is a game that I don't like to play.
Yeah.
You end up shooting yourself in the foot to save a few bucks, and then you are broke anyway.
Right.
So I looked at my skill sets. I looked at the people I was working with and their skill sets, and it just made sense for me to transition from graphic design into the marketing and advertising side of things. I saw holes and stuff that wasn't being done as good as I thought they could be done.
Sure.
And that's essentially how Studio Road was born and how I kind of got into it. And the fact that it's racing based was purely preference. If you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. So
that's right.
Just combine the two, done deal.
Yeah. Well, I've got just from watching, NHRA on TV or NASCAR or any of these guys, really, it's clear that the marketing has become much more of a craft. I mean, just in an interview with these drivers, they're mentioning as many of their A-list sponsors as they can in a single breath. It's amazing. Do you feel like was that part of sort of the enticement to get involved because it's sort of high profile at all, or is it really just this great mesh of passion and talent for you?
Both.
Yeah,
for sure. Absolutely both. You mentioned how they're spitting off those sponsors, in a single breath, right? That's an example that I'll bring up. We we don't make fun, but we make light of that situation because the drivers realize they have a very small window of time to give thanks to those people that help them out, to the sponsors.
Yeah.
How they deliver that message can be humorous in many ways. So they just start spinning it off, and it sounds like a grocery list.
That's right. Exactly right.
So from what we see and what, we talk to people and their reactions to some of that stuff, and I'd love to hear what, you and your listeners have to say, but we see it as when they start rattling them off like that, the viewer starts to tune out.
Yeah.
So there's there's other drivers, and I can't think of one off the top of my head, unfortunately. I'll try to. There are drivers out there that have this ability to integrate those sponsors into the normal conversation of the interview. It's much more intuitive, and it comes across genuine rather than shoving it down the listener or the viewer's throat.
Right.
It's that aspect of it that gets better return and more attention than just spinning it off like a grocery list. So it's that mentality, that mindset that I'm really intrigued with.
Yeah. Wow. Then it really becomes a craft and a skill. And I would think that there's a lot of ROI from the driver's perspective because next year he may not be driving for the same person, but he should have a reputation of serving his sponsors well. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely.
Yeah. So it sounds like you probably get to rub shoulders with some pretty amazing people. You got a list of people that you're, happy to call either, clients or partners or colleagues?
Yeah, I guess this is the name dropping section of the interview. Huh?
Sure, why not, right?
To sound as humble as I possibly can, we do get to meet some amazing people in the space. Alexis DeJoria, who we're all familiar with,
right.
We've worked with her quite a few times. Got to hang out with her and the team. Jesse and her dad, just stuff like that.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, there's I look up to her dad anyway. Prior to her becoming a client, I looked up to her dad just as a businessman in general. So it was it was definitely a double benefit there.
Sure.
And then there's Joseph Newgarden, who's in IndyCar. He's
right.
He's in his sophomore year now. He's coming up very quickly. He qualified in the top 5 this past weekend at Barber and finished 8th. He's doing really well.
Wow.
And then a lot of people in other programs as well, and the former ALMS stuff like that.
So how does drifting? Just because, even though this is more for drag racers, I'm just curious how in the drifting community are there sponsorship dollars being put in there and drivers who are really elevating a name and being marketable?
Absolutely, there is a ton of money getting dumped into drifting right now.
Wow.
The cars 5 years ago, 5-6 years ago, they were fully built, $30,000-$40,000. They were street cars. They still are street cars, but they were really strictly street cars with roll cages 6 years ago with big motors. Now, these are $120,000 builds.
Really?
Fully tubbed, full, almost rally spec cages in them. There's not a single car with less than 700 horsepower.
Wow.
Just massive power in the field. Big tire sponsors, big money. NOS was there, but they were there. They brought their money.
Sure.
Ford is in there with Von Gittin Jr. So to answer your question, yeah, there is a ton of money. And to be honest, the NHRA in particular could learn a lot about what Formula D is doing and drifting in general.
Yeah.
Because, Formula D and drifting, it's that new, it's up and coming sport, and they appeal to the younger demographic, which is precisely who NHRA needs to start acquiring.
Exactly. Yeah, that's part of the reason why I even put out this podcast was just to teach people about how drag racing works, because I'm afraid up-and-coming young drivers or would-be drivers are looking at the two sports and going, I think I'll just, drive in a straight line. What's the deal? So they do a burnout. Why do they even call it a bleach box? Who's using bleach? Let me get out here and, do something cooler, which drifting, I mean, it really intrigues me. So that makes a lot of sense. Studio RHOAD is the agency that you created. You're the founder?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Tell me, kind of outline that. How big are you guys? I mean, how many, would you say, clients, or how many designers? How's your team work?
We are deliberately small. There's me and there's 9 other people. We all work remotely. Don't have an office because we don't need one.
Right.
So I'm here, as you know, I'm in Knoxville, and then all the contractors and employees are around the country.
Yeah.
Most of our clients are in California. So like I said, we're deliberately small because a company bases what agency they go with, generally speaking, based on the number of people that work at that agency. Now, the companies that are involved in racing, there's obviously some massive ones, but the ones that we appeal to are the moderate-sized companies that are large and to a certain degree, but still have the mom and pop culture to them. So by being small, much like they are in the grand scheme of things, by remaining small, we're able to be very versatile and be able to adjust and turn on a dime, if you will, if we need to. There's no big numbering system. There's no big approval process to change this or change that. It's literally, we make a call, yes or no, boom, we do it.
Right.
We don't have to go through a long chain of events to make something happen.
Yeah, which seems important. I mean, drivers can change on a dime, sponsors, but I would think that agility really serves you well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, anybody can check out your Facebook page. I happen to be a fan. I've liked it for a while and saw a recent notable award. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, we were able to pull in what's called an Addy Award. Within the advertising space, you submit work and you're judged amongst your peers based on their work.
Right.
A panel of judges who are higher up, are the elite of the elite. They judge based on certain criteria, and based on that criteria, you end up with awards or credentials and stuff like that. So we were able to win a bronze Addy Award for a magazine ad that we did with Achilles Tire.
Okay. That seems awesome. I've been hearing of Addy Awards just from working with agencies all around for a while, and I don't know. I was tickled when I saw this come up on your Facebook, because like you said, I mean, it's proof from your peers that you're doing just noteworthy work. Like, for instance, I play guitar, and I've always said I may be able to play a Dave Matthews song, but he writes it, and so like that's the difference here. You're clearly
Right.
standing out.
Right.
So just kudos, way to go.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And I'll go ahead and tell the listeners, if you haven't checked out StudioRoad.com, the experience of the website, I mean, it's amazing, right? I love these images. It's fabulous. I'm sure it's to get nerdy. It's got responsive layout, and so it adjusts itself and everything.
Yep, it does.
But the pictures are awesome. I'm like, man, where does this guy get this stuff? It's just great.
I'm infatuated with black and white. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's just I think it's the simplicity of it.
Yeah.
And it really, I don't know. I won't get all nerdy for you guys, but yeah, I just love black and white, and especially when it comes to old Formula One photos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It takes you to a different time frame. I mean, It's just awesome.
I love I suppose I love the culture of old F1 or in any racing back then. There seemed to be, back then, it seemed to exude passion. You could really feel the passion back then. You still can now.
Sure.
But there's just something about the old photos that I love.
Yeah. I mean, this one car is airborne, so like
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Well, man, and I'll throw it out there. I mean, I feel like I'm plugging all your different social media, but that's kind of what this is about. I love your YouTube channel. So that's youtube.com. I think you can get there from /Studio Road, Road with an H in it. It just, what drew me to want to interview you, besides the fact that we've met at different things, events and stuff. Also, you seem so giving. I brought up earlier this, stop blending in video. If drag racers haven't checked this out and you're interested in a sponsor, I think you give some great tips here. These are great little nuggets and insights into, just sort of the agenda of the big sponsors, but, just how to, I don't know, have market differentiators. I mean, this is just good stuff.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And in particular, I like the weekend with Alexis because I thought it brought a kind of realness that you don't get when you see her for 2 seconds on, NHRA on ESPN2.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
And it was kind of funny. I think in that video, as you're interviewing her, ask about who she would, like a celebrity that she would like to date, and I don't think Jesse comes up at all. Which is funny. So I
won't tell if you won't tell.
Okay. I love it. Great. All right. Well, for my audience, what we usually do is try to highlight a list of 3, 4, 5 things you need to know about whatever topic. And so you're the expert. I thought we could maybe get out of you top 3, 4, 5 things that a bracket level or sportsman level drag racer needs to know about winning or landing a sponsor or a marketing sort of effort. Yeah. So, go for it. We haven't talked about this ahead of time, so I have no idea what these top things could be. So I'll let you rattle it off.
If I would have known that, you would have got an interesting list. All right. So it probably goes without saying, but the whole purpose of the partnership between you and a sponsor is the return on investment. It's the ROI. Let me give you an example. And I have a feeling that some of your listeners may have experienced this as well. So we're working with a wheel company out in California, and I started tentatively asking some of their followers to submit sponsorship proposals. Because everybody was asking, they want free wheels and stuff like that.
Sure.
So I asked them to submit sponsorship proposals, and what they send me is quite literally an email with a list of mods and 3 pictures of the car. That's it.
Wow. Okay.
All right. Great. You have a beautiful car. Fantastic. Excellent. Glad you like the brand.
Right.
This is a business deal. So what does the wheel company get in return? Simply saying, "Oh, I'll try my best to advocate for the wheel company, and I'll talk to people about it, and I'll put your sticker on the trailer and all that stuff." That is merely a commodity. It is a byproduct that will help in branding and exposure to a certain degree, but when it comes down to it, it is about the bottom line. It is about selling wheels or whatever the product that particular sponsor has.
Sure.
So to appeal to those particular sponsors, big or small, it all comes down to supply and demand. There needs to be a plan that is quantifiable. You need to tell them, we're going to do this. Here's how we're going to do it. Here's why we're going to do it. And here's why it's going to be beneficial to you. And here's what you can expect. Something that is quantifiable, that you can count, that you can measure. One of the drivers, road course drivers, back in the day when he was first starting, he got sponsorship from a poultry plant, I believe it was. So they literally gave him turkey. That's what his sponsorship was. They gave him free turkey.
Okay.
Most people would look at that turkey and say, "Fantastic! I get to eat for free for 2 months. This is great."
Yeah.
What he did was he took the turkey and he started selling them to restaurants, direct to restaurants.
Really?
The money he used from selling that turkey, he put back into his RHOAD program.
There you go.
Additionally, he went to the local schools and got kids out of shop classes and took them to the track to become stewards, safety stewards, and corner workers.
Wow.
The benefit of that was if drivers brought those corner workers to the track, they got free track time.
Ah, no kidding.
So he gets free track time, and he gets a little bit of revenue that he can dump into the car or program or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So there's a level of creative there, but back to the original, it's all about creating the return and making that not the customer but the sponsor believe without a shadow of a doubt that they're going to get some kind of return on it, whether that's exposure, it's branding, something quantifiable. You're going to make 3-4 sales a week, whatever the case might be.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you said that they were the customer. They basically are your customer. I mean, if they're writing a check, you're providing a service that is putting their name on your car and doing these other creative outlets. I mean, definitely they're the customer. Yeah.
Great. That's a really good point. Absolutely.
Okay. So make promises that result in quantifiable results and exposure. Be creative. I'm loving it.
So I'll touch back on the sponsorship proposals, and that's more of a personal branding type of situation.
Okay.
I'm sure we've all heard of the slogan, "Perception is 9/10 of the law," right? When you go to a particular website and it looks like it's from 1989, you immediately have a judgment about that company, about their products, about everything surrounding that company, right?
Right.
Just purely based on what your website experience, for example.
Right.
That goes across the board. That's websites, that's hero cars, that's video, that's the sponsorship proposals, everything.
Right.
Digital assets as a whole. So when you hear a graphic designer or a photographer or whatever, some kind of creative, and they want a lot of money to do something, to build something for you.
Mm-hmm.
My advice is to do what you can to get the best bang for your buck. Make that presentation surrounding your race program as good as you can possibly make it.
Right.
I don't like the site because, anyway, I don't like the site, but there's Wix.com. It's very cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get, some decent looking websites from there. Start from there and then start working your way up. But the point is to create a nice personal brand around all of those digital assets.
Right. Now, just if I can, is that you're saying that the MO there is to make sure that the people you're soliciting to be to your sponsor, you want them to see that you have a polished product and that you're already a brand waiting for them to partner up with. Is that right?
Exactly. It shows that you're investing in yourself. You're investing into the program. If somebody's not investing into themselves, like those people that I mentioned earlier that were emailing me about the wheels,
right?
If they're not investing in themselves or their program that they're pitching, why would a company invest in them?
Yeah.
When you start a company from the ground up, you invest in it. That could be something as simple as just a computer. It's still an investment.
Yeah.
So if you're not investing, then why should anybody else? You have to show that you're all in.
Yeah. Now, if I can, that takes me back. You, I can't remember if it was on Facebook or an email you sent out, but I loved it. It was you were giving racers who raced with a blank door a hard time because you were like, look, if you can't even put your name on there, if you're not growing your brand, why should other people invest in it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm sure we've all seen it, put your sponsor here or your sponsor here or
Right.
sponsor me or whatever. To me, and I mean no disrespect to this, but to me it comes across as desperate.
Right.
I think a more advantageous route is to put your social channels in that spot.
Right.
Perhaps a family company is there, perhaps a link to your YouTube channel, to your website, to your Twitter handle. There's just much better ways to utilize that real estate.
Right.
Than, throwing it out there, fishing for something.
Sure.
And that essentially creates, it reinforces the personal brand around the race program.
Yeah. Wow. So I love this. Quantifiable results, creativity in your approach, high level quality for your proposal, and investing in your own brand. Those are 4. How are we doing compared to your list?
Oh, good. I was only on 3.
Oh, perfect.
So the third one that I had written down was networking, and that seems simple on the surface. So I will use SEMA or even PRI for that matter, as an example for this. So when you go to those events, it's often people go there and they want to find somebody that's relevant. They want somebody that's a big wig in that particular company that they're trying to get a hold of, right?
Sure.
The way I see it is relevance is, in regards to people, is subjective. Just because they have 10,000 followers or 500 followers doesn't dictate how relevant they are.
Right.
Furthermore, those people who are relevant, let's say the GM of Ford, right?
Mm-hmm.
He has some relevance there. Let's say you're trying to get to him. It becomes a matter of supply and demand. He is getting pounded on by every direction from every racer, driver, team on the planet.
Right.
And granted, he's got gatekeepers there, but for the most part, he's getting just destroyed.
Yeah.
So he's in high demand. You're not breaking through because they are defending against your supply. There's plenty of supply.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So for you to get to those people, why not go a different route? So in other words, stop strategizing people's clout and relevance in regards to the space. When you actually start acting like a human being, for example, you'll actually win. You will talk to people who aren't that GM of Ford, and you'll talk to other people, but those other people, although on paper they won't seem as relevant with their 300 followers on Twitter or whatever the case may be, but that person is a direct gateway to the person you're trying to get to. So by having a beer or dinner with person A, you can get to person B. Right. But you don't want to strategize it. You just want it to happen. Just shake hands like you normally do. When you go to a cocktail party, you shake hands with everybody you can.
Mm-hmm.
but you're not going there to strike a deal the night of. You're going there to develop the relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So, I read a lot of books and stuff, and there's a book called 3 Feet from Gold where they talk about the success equation, and success being whatever it is for you. It might be race wins, it might be money, it might be clout. But the success equation is passion plus talent times association times action. And that association piece is exactly what you're talking about, who you associate with. And so why go for the big Ford GM right away? Maybe, start with your local car dealer, and talk to the guy on the shop floor. Mm-hmm. And maybe it turns out you're able to, without coming through as having all those intentions, maybe you're just able to connect because people see the synergy there, and it all just makes sense.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, well, man, I just appreciate your time. Like I said, I appreciate your willingness to talk to sportsman level drag racers about this stuff. These are insights that it's hard to get, when we're sitting at the track on a Saturday afternoon. And frankly, I mean, a lot of times we're focused on dial-ins and whether or not we're getting traction, but how we pay for all this and how much value we provide to sponsors is important too, because that's sort of about taking it to the next level. So Anyway, Chris, just really appreciate you. How can people sort of keep up with you? I think I've mentioned a couple. You want to rattle them off?
Yeah, we're on just about every social channel there is, purely because we need to know how they work. But if most active on on Twitter at Studio RHOAD, Studio RHOAD, and Instagram as well, also Studio RHOAD. I haven't posted on our blog in quite some time. I will be fixing that very soon, and that's just StudioRHOAD.com. So all the other ones are there, but they're we don't post on them too much, especially Facebook. I'm a anti-Facebook kind of guy at the moment.
Oh yeah, well that's okay. I mean, there's an ebb and flow to all this stuff, but a lot of your stuff seems timeless. I mean, those videos I was referencing are from 2012, and it's just really good stuff. So, all right, man. Well, I guess we'll catch up another time. And but anyway, I just want to say thanks again. Appreciate you.
Absolutely, man. Pleasure to be on.
All right. Well, I hope that was interesting. I know I really enjoy getting to spend time with Chris. We've met each other a couple different times. I saw him at PRI. We're from the same town, so every once in a while we see each other at local events, but we've seen each other at Bristol at the NHRA race there. And anyway, just cool guy. He's got great people he works with. He actually did a little bit of our branding. So if you check us out on Facebook.com, some of our images there were actually contributed to DragTracker.com from Studio RHOAD. So just high quality, great people to work with. Since we're talking about motorsports, marketing, stuff like that, I wanted to let you know and give a shout out to the Michalik brothers who did... they had a win in Top Alcohol Dragster in Charlotte. I just thought this was awesome because these guys I actually came across when I was competing against them on the race, Always a Champion, Race for Champion. Anyway, Champion Spark Plugs, their parent company, put out a contest for a $50,000 grand prize sponsorship deal, and they won. They did awesome. They had a good video. They did a lot of PR. It was really cool stuff, and it was grassroots racers, right? They were coming up from nothing. It's a couple of brothers. Anyway, they got their first race was in Charlotte, and they won. And I just thought it was a really cool story. It's a neat story about, just grassroots racers, like I said, coming up and landing a sponsorship deal like this dream deal, and exposing, sort of their brand that contributed to them. They got lots of great media and press for that. Anyway, I'm just looking forward to watching them. So check them out. I'm going to link to their website below, and there's a couple of cool articles covering this story because it was just a neat thing that happened in the drag racing community. I just think it's a neat story. So anyway, maybe I'll try and see if I can get one of them on the show or something. Yeah, that would be fun. And speaking of that, are you liking the interviews? This will be our second one now that we've done, and I just really like reaching out to the community. I mean, I love hearing other people talk, and it's fun. There's so much energy that comes out of people talking about racing, about drag racing. So anyway, if you're enjoying this, let me know in the comments. If you just want more tips and tricks on how to win rounds, I mean, we can do that too. I got plenty more where that came from. I got a whole notebook full of notes on things that we can cover and we're going to cover. But, just let me know. I would love to know your feedback on how these interviews kind of work for you. But yeah, it's going great. Episode 10 is coming up. I'm looking for stories. I would love to have an episode just full of stories. And if you go back and listen to some of the other episodes, it's not like we're talking about crazy, unbelievable things. It's just interesting things that have happened, in people's experience. And any kind of stories you have, send them to me. Don't be embarrassed. You don't have to have it all figured out. We can work through it. Maybe we can tell it a couple times. I'll work with you if you're nervous about talking about it. Or if you want to send me an email that just covers it, and we can kind of talk about it through there. If you want to send me an email, it's podcast@dragtracker.com. Or link to a video. We can share it through that way. Anyway, whatever works. I want to give you an opportunity to tell your story. I got to know a little bit about the McCallick brothers story, but other people have neat stories about how they either got a sponsorship or how they won a race. So I'm also looking for pictures of your car to put on our YouTube thumbnails. If you want to get more exposure for how your car looks and, taking off, pulling wheels up, that kind of stuff, I'd love to share that with you and get your name out there and link to, if you have got a profile on a forum that you really like and we want to link to that, we can do all that stuff. Anyway, so like I said, I'm here to serve you. Yeah, there's just one more thing. I wanted to do one more pit etiquette, and this one, man, it's kind of like, it's kind of important, and it may seem obvious to a lot of us, but to some people I've seen at the track. The only reason I'm bringing it up is because I've seen this happen, and that is pit etiquette. This is number 4. It's drinking alcohol. I've seen people, driving a race car is unpredictable. And if you show up at the track and you think you can really handle driving the car under the influence of alcohol, you're nuts. There's no way. It's not even worth the risk. Racing is dangerous. The videos that on YouTube that have the most hits related to drag racing are terrible crashes. Don't risk it. It's not worth it to your family, friends. Don't drink alcohol on race day. Don't drink, especially while you're at the track. Wait till you get home after you're done racing before you drink any alcohol. There are 2 reasons I hate it. One is it puts everybody's safety in danger. Everybody in the pits, everybody on the track, but especially you. The other reason I don't like it is because a lot of times they have those stupid bottle caps that cut slicks. And I don't appreciate that either. Now, if you're just spectating, you've got a designated driver, go ahead and drink. I don't care. Don't get too close to my car. I don't want you throwing up all over it. But don't drink alcohol if you're driving a race car. Just avoid it. You got plenty of time to drink, and you'll have plenty of more time if you're alive and haven't had an accident. So anyway, just don't be foolish, right? It makes sense. All right. So again, we're doing YouTube videos. We're doing extra videos on YouTube. So if you want to check us out there, it's youtube.com/dragtracker. Anyway, I hope you're having fun. I'm having a blast. And so we'll catch up with you in episode 10. Race safe, race to win, and take care.